Please feel no obligation to believe this tale. In fact, as I am no poet of the Dark Ages, as the Dark Ages are presently defined, you cannot think I think it true myself. Yet, for whatever value the telling may provide, I'll tell it here, and let us each decide.
The tapping at my front door that night sounded 3 alarms for me even before I answered it. First, the hour. It was late. Second, a tap instead of the more customary bell. And third, the rarity of a visitor at all. The only one I'd had in months being the exterminator. I opened the door, and there, backlit by a nearly full moon, was a figure clothed in a black robe, with a cowl hiding its face, and carrying a scythe. Damn, the Grim Reaper, I thought. Given my age, my medical history, it shouldn't have been much of a surprise. But it was.
Good evening. May I come in?
Who are you?
I will happily explain. May I come in?
Why? What do you want?
We have business, and that would best be done inside rather than out here. Will you let me in, please?
Are you sure you've come to the right place?
Yes, I am sure. Now, may I come in, please?
I guess so. But you aren't planning to use that scythe for anything, are you?
That remains to be seen. But if it bothers you, I'll just leave it here against your bookcase. Now, while you remember your manners and offer me a place to sit, I'll just make myself comfortable in this recliner.
But that's where I sit. That's my place.
Well, I'm settled here now, thank you. You could be gracious and sit on the couch.
Well, okay. May I offer you anything to drink? All I have is diet soda. Hey, I could go out and get something else. Wine, beer, spirits? Oh, maybe not spirits.
Go out and not come back? No refreshments, thank you.
We were both quiet for a moment. I thought, if I can keep him talking, maybe I can put this off for a while. Maybe even get out of it completely. It was worth a try. When you came in, you said we have business to discuss. Business implies deal-making, negotiations, etc. You haven't come to make me a final offer, have you?
We'll get to that. You seem a bit surprised to see me, and certainly not prepared for my visit.
Well, naturally, I expected to see you someday. Not tonight, but eventually. And what's with the costume? Black robe, cowl, scythe and all? It's a bit off-putting.
When you wish to be taken seriously, you put on your dark suit. This is mine. One of my brethren, radiation poisoning, wants to wear a hazmat suit, if you can believe that, and wield some kind of Geiger wand. Just for himself, you understand. It'll never happen. Tradition is a hard thing to kill, thus the scythe and robe. As long as war, pestilence, and famine lead the council, and they show no sign of stepping down, nothing much in the order will change.
War, pestilence, famine. Then you must be Death, the fourth rider, right?
You say that as if it were a bad thing. You humans really slay me. You automatically assume that in a creation as complex and wondrous as this, a thing as universal as death, which is as natural as, say, breathing, is necessarily bad. Evil, even. Do you really think this is all there is? Do you really think this is the best there is?
Fear of the unknown is natural enough too, you know.
As is the thrill of the unknown, the opportunity for adventure, a fresh quest.
Somehow this seems different.
Fine, have it your way. Anyway, back to your original question. Am I death? Well, yes and no. The order numbers thousands. In general terms, all of us are death, or offerers of it.
So you are the Grim Reaper, or Death's emissary.
Many call us that, but we prefer the term harvesters. A dedicated guild gathering from the field the souls who have been in the field as long as need be. But like everyone, we specialize. Did you expect a particular manner of harvesting?
Well, you know, I'd always hoped to go out in a blaze of glory, like, leading a glorious gallant charge or rescuing someone in a natural disaster or fire. Something heroic, you know, and sudden.
Something along the lines of Pickett's charge at Gettysburg, or Casey Jones, eh? Saving a train full of passengers at the cost of his own life.
Exactly. A daring deed, faithful to the end, no matter the cost.
I'd heard you were something of a romantic. Well, Trainwreck, one of my brethren, isn't here, unfortunately, and Forlorn Hope is busy elsewhere. So you are stuck with me, one of the more common ways of dying. Or were you planning to actually drive a steam engine?
Well, no.
Or travel to a hot spot somewhere in the world and volunteer to lead troops?
Now you're mocking me.
No, I am laughing with you, not at you. But that still leaves you with me, doesn't it?
So I must go with you now. Is that the point?
If you'd like. Or you could fight me.
I can fight you?
Yes, you might even win. You've already defeated, or more accurately deflected, many of my brothers. Some of them several times.
I'm not sure I recall.
Says here in my notebook, you're, 135 and 0.
Whoa, I must be quite a champion.
No, about average, actually. Still, as our motto says, everyone's O must go. Ready to give up yours?
Hold on here. Can you tell me about my victories? That is, my deflections?
Well, pneumonia nearly harvested you once. Not much to be proud of there. You were 5, but you had attentive parents. They had an attentive doctor. He had penicillin.
I remember the shot. It was white and thick, like he was trying to force Elmer's glue through a very big needle. I didn't want it. They had to hold me down. It hurt.
Of course it hurt. I wonder, did you not want it because you knew it would hurt? Or did you resist the injection because you were inclined to go with pneumonia that day?
Well, that's crazy. Penicillin saved my life.
Don't be silly. No life has ever been saved by anything or anyone. It's just something doctors, firemen, and lifeguards like to say. Life can only be extended. Sometimes for expensive, worthless, painful hours. Sometimes for productive decades of joy and accomplishment. Sometimes for some bland existence in between. But only extended, never saved. Everyone's O must go. So I ask again, why did you resist the penicillin? Did you want to be harvested then?
Absolutely not. I was just afraid of the shot. Any kid would have been. I'm still not thrilled about the idea of getting one.
Of course, I'm sure you're right. Then there was the day in your early 20s when you thought you were some sort of rock climber. Young fool. A slip would have landed you at the feet of my brother, Accident, who was waiting for you at the bottom of the gorge. But you chose to hang on, barely, until a friend saved you by grabbing your ankle and guiding it to a sound foothold. It wasn't really so much your choice as instinct. Self-preservation, will to live, and all that. But you could have been harvested then and there.
I remember that day, too. Facing challenge, test of courage, proclamation of my manhood. Something along those lines.
My brother, stupid accident, would tell you that is fairly common. Most of your victories have not been so dramatic, though. You have a modest collection of scars, nothing important. There was a time when even minor wounds often led to septic infection. You didn't give any thought to going that way, but you could have. Instead, antiseptics were available to you, and you chose to avail yourself of them. Let's see. Frequently, a tap on the brakes here and there, or pulling to the side of the road in a blinding rainstorm, caused you to avoid auto carnage. By the way, he gave himself that name. Auto, car, carnage. Get it?
Yeah, got it.
He's young and thinks it's clever. Still, he has been very busy. More than once you hesitated when a traffic light turned green, thereby avoiding a stupid accident with some red-light-running fool. You usually thought better of playing golf in a thunderstorm when lightning bolt was nearby. I suspect some souls prefer him to the rest of us and seek him out. Hard to prove, though. Oh yes, there were many little deflections that you were never aware of, like the time a particularly alert mechanic spotted and fixed something wrong with the airplane you were about to board.
Seems like it could get a little complicated.
How so?
Well, take one of the situations you just described. Let's say I did pull out in front of someone running a red light and got T-boned. Sounds like stupid accident would have a claim on me and on the guy who hit me.
Yes, that's so.
But then wouldn't auto carnage also have a claim on both of us? Who would harvest each of us?
What? Are you a lawyer now? What you are describing is a case of multiple jurisdictions. It's usually worked out among those involved, not unlike two football players each getting credit for half a sack. Listen, I shouldn't tell you this, but sometimes there are disputes. Occasionally, two brothers argue their claims. Very vigorously, in fact. Meanwhile, the human has time to survive the incident and begins healing. He might be badly injured, or her life might be horribly altered, but they survive. Then someone else has to be sent for them later. Still, in the end, all the work gets done.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Please, go on about my successful deflections.
You didn't know it, but you had a tumor once. But your body healed it all by itself without you even knowing it.
A tumor? You must be mistaken.
Nope, you did. It happens. Interesting, isn't it, how life can be so fragile and yet so persistent at the same time?
Would it have really mattered?
Would it have mattered which one of us harvested you? No, it's all the same in the end.
That's not what I meant. Would it have mattered to the world if I'd been harvested very young, at 5, let's say, instead of now or in the future? Would that have mattered?
Well, had you gone early, some children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc., would not have been born. Or maybe they would have been born after all, just in different forms. Different children, same souls. And who would you be? Would you be at all if your parents had left young? They could have, you know. But then many others would be spared the grief of your leaving later in life simply by never having met you. Also consider this. It's impossible to outlive everyone who might ever wish for you to stay. And if you did outlive them, you would be grieving bitterly for each of them. That hardly seems fair or just, now does it?
But no parent should ever have to bury a child.
Right. That is why the specialty I chose pretty much keeps me away from children. Other brothers deal with them. I prefer to be no part of it. Leaving young causes terrible, bitter, very bitter grief for those left behind.
So back to the situation at hand. I can resist you, fight you, if I choose,
At your service.
and maybe even win.
Possibly, yes.
And then what?
I'll leave.
That's it?
That's it. Until the next brother arrives.
But I can fight him too, maybe win.
Perhaps. Perhaps not. Even if you do deflect me, I will at the very least weaken you somewhat for the next one. I don't often do this, but I want to show you something. Would you step out your front door with me?
Is this some kind of trick to catch me off guard and find myself harvested without getting my chance to fight?
I'll leave my scythe here against the bookshelf. Will that reassure you? I really think you'll find this interesting.
So he rose, and I followed his black cloak and dusty aroma out onto my front stoop. All was as before, a quiet, cloudless night with a nearly full moon. Then skeletal fingers snapped sharply before my eyes. There was a flash of lightning and a great thunderclap.
Jeez, you nearly scared the life out of me. Is all that drama really necessary?
Like my costume, it all serves to make a point. In this case, the point is that all of this has been right in front of you for as long as you have been here. Now look.
I looked in the direction he pointed. The world had indeed changed. My car, my neighbors' houses, the paved street, and the small grove of trees on the other side were all gone. Spread before us lay a landscape of empty fields. A dusty road stretched across them from my door to a dim and distant horizon, disappearing now and then into the folds of low hills. Only the moon remained as before.
There. Do you see them?
I see figures dressed like you, carrying scythes. They're all in a line like they're coming this way. Well, there's hundreds of them as far back as I can see. Are they moving? I can't tell. Maybe.
They move as time moves.
And they're all coming for me?
Not necessarily. They are coming this way. But they may be seeking one of your neighbors. Or they may just pass this way en route to someone else far, far away.
So if I understand this correctly, I can fight you and maybe win, albeit weakened, but then I have to take the next one in line whenever he gets here?
Maybe.
Maybe? What do you mean, maybe?
These are just my brothers that you can see. The slow, deliberate ones. The ones who give you some warning. The ones who give you a clear choice to come with us or to fight. Look across the seemingly empty fields. See anything? No? Well, some of my other brethren are there. The sudden ones. The ones you don't see coming. They're always around here someplace. We've talked about a few of them. Lightning bolt, auto carnage, stupid accident, and plane crash. There's also drowning, electrocution, massive stroke. Then there's suicide bomber, car bomb, psycho sniper, and that whole crew. No tap at the door, no delay, no pleasant conversation, no time for reflection or preparation, no book to finish reading or writing. Just done.
Could the ones I've already deflected come back and try for a rematch?
Always. Those and many others besides.
And back to this very impressive line of your brothers on the road. Who's that first one I get to face after you? Did it just move? That is assuming I decide to fight you and assuming I win.
It really wouldn't be fair if I told you. It might influence your decision concerning me. You might prefer that harvester, or you might not. The only way to meet him is to get past me.
And you won't tell me his name?
No, I really can't. But I can give you an idea of who might be out there, on their way to you. Hypothetically, and in no particular order, of course.
Of course.
Well, somewhere in that line might be a serious illness like ALS, MS or MD, the flu, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, congestive heart failure, or maybe one of the cancer clan: lung, brain, breast, colon, pancreatic, prostate, and over 100 more. It's really hard to remember them all. And pandemics like COVID, plus hundreds of other exotic ailments you've never heard of unless you watch too many TV doctor dramas.
So even if I fight and win, there will always be more.
Everyone's O must go.
But you, and I mean you personally, have some reservations about harvesting children.
Yes, I've admitted as much.
And although far from being a child myself, I am still someone's child. My parents are not yet harvested.
I know. I think that may be your best motivation to fight me. After all, you're the one who said no parent should have to bury a child.
So I did.
I think you might rather choose to grieve them than have them grieving you.
It's a thing to consider, isn't it? Oh, it's getting chilly out here. Care to step back inside?
He did. We stood quietly for a moment. He went presumptively to my recliner again, and I was relegated to the unused couch again.
You know, it almost seems like I'm on an interstate with infinite exit.
Yes, but remember this. From this interstate, all the exits lead to the same destination.
To sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub. You know, that still worries me.
Still stuck on the simple fear of the unknown, are you?
Wait, I just thought of something else. I never knew or even heard of an old person, and I don't mean my stage of old, but really old, who was afraid of death. A loved one's, yes, but not their own. So maybe I'm just not old enough. I should stay.
Fair point. Do you remember a man you once visited in the hospital, a diabetic, the night before he was to have his leg amputated?
Yes. I expected him to be very solemn and despondent, like a condemned prisoner on the night before his execution. But he was just like a kid on Christmas Eve. His leg had become so inconvenient, so painful, such an unrelenting torture that he didn't even think of it as part of himself anymore. It was just a burdensome, nightmarish growth that he would soon be rid of.
Precisely. At some point, the whole body becomes like that, and the soul wants nothing more than to get out of it. That's why you never hear of any really old humans fearing their own death, no matter how unappealing the next brother in line.
So at some point in the progression of pain, and the just plain weariness of it all, the fear of the known does overwhelm the fear of the unknown?
Yes, that's correct. Now, have you decided to come with me, or does the fight begin?
Go peacefully or stay and fight. Let me think about that. I am resisting. Let the fight begin. Hadn't you figured that out already? Here, have a cigar to celebrate.
Cigars can be the death of you, you know.
Well, by all means, tell him to get in line.